Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. All right, welcome everybody. This is Andrew David, Blake Newbar's High Performance Calls. So over the course of this month, I want to dive back into starting this challenge off with affirmations. I know we're a couple of days in, so if you hadn't started yet, now's the time to do it. Inside the Skype group, I did post some affirmations for today. Part of this challenge involves daily affirmations, spending some time. Now, what I recommend doing is not just going through the affirmations once, but doing it anywhere between 3 to 5 times, spending some time doing them. Now, also within this, in this challenge, you guys have access to this document that kind of teaches you a little bit of how to write some of your own. I'm going to post this again in the Skype group, but I'm going to be giving you consistently some affirmations along the way that you can use that have been written out by professionals and can be highly effective. Now, with that, one of the most important elements as you're starting to work on affirmations is the understanding that you may have some subconscious blocks. What is there? What's standing in the way? What do you need to work on, right? And so I gave you a couple of things to look at with how to program the subconscious mind, right? Part of that is looking at the internal dialogue. I know that's not spelled right. To find the related subconscious obstacles. You want to take off those masks. You want to, peel the onion. You want to use all those different fun metaphors. Now, here's the thing about the subconscious mind. This is something I think that's really interesting. Excuse me. Real quick, as you get into it, you're going to be practicing your breathing. That's going to be important. You want to find the time to breathe deeply. Do this on a consistent basis. Okay. You want to train your body to figure out the proper amount of oxygen that you need. Okay. The more that you breathe, the more relaxed that you can be on a consistent basis. So I know a number of you guys are big in yoga, spiritual and physical healing, personal trainers, everything else. So there's the Skype group, Greg. Okay. So here's the thing about breathing. Everybody has experience, understands the power of, what that can do, right? I hope you do. There is time and time again, when you look at stress in your life, one of the most effective things you can do right away is recognize physically where your posture is. So oftentimes with stress, any type of stress, anxiety, etc., a lot of times your shoulders will get hunched, kind of curled forward. You're breathing shorter breaths, right? If you want to feel what that's like, just start taking a bunch of short, quick breaths and you'll feel your anxiety start to spike. Deeper breaths, dealing with you in a relationship, if you're having an argument, if you see kids are throwing a tantrum, sometimes those, just pausing and taking some deeper breaths help de-escalate the situation right away. More oxygen into you, your heart, your mind, everything else. Take 6. What do you mean, Chantel? Take 6 seconds, 6 breaths. You're on mute, darling. There you go.
So I've set up on my phone, I've set up a mindful bell. And you can set it up for 45 minutes, an hour, as often as you want, starting at 10 in the morning till 10 at night, and it goes off. Mm-hmm. And you take 6. So that means you become very mindful of your breathing, and you take 6 deep breaths. And what it helps you do is reconnect with your body in the now. And it calms your whole system down. Calms the head, calms the heart, calms the nervous system.
Yeah.
You just make it a habit to touch base with yourself, basically.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Just take 6.
Yeah, and doing it throughout the day, right? So
yeah,
whether it's
so the alarm goes off.
6 minutes, take it. Eventually, and doing it with the alarm, it almost sets up the Pavlov effect, right? But you can do it over time. You create that habit enough that when you recognize the triggers, hey, I'm getting stressed right now. This is the time when I need to stop I need to breathe, right? Go, if you need to get into a different room, if you need to change the environment, if you need to go outside, you don't have to sit in a corner with your eyes closed and breathe in order to make this effective. Simply breathing deeply can work wonders, right? I honestly, as a kid, I first started noticing this when I would, just how important oxygen was. And I know this isn't exactly what we're talking about, but working out as a kid, when I was 16, 17 years old, and I'd go to the gym for, weight training class. And I remember every single time I would get down to bench press, or I was getting ready for a set of squats or something, I would yawn. My body would start to yawn every single time without fail. And I'm like, I'm on pre-workout, I'm all jazzed up, I'm working out. Like, why? I'm not tired. Why am I yawning? And over time, it kind of dawned on me. My body was saying, hey, you need a little more oxygen right now. Your body, your cells need more oxygen. Guys, that happens so much more frequently than you can imagine if you give yourself simply more oxygen. So when you're getting ready for your affirmations, it's an important part of it. Breathe deeply. Okay, now we get into one of the first methods with affirmations and why they're written certain ways, right? So using metaphors with the subconscious mind. Now, here's some examples. I am growing like, green shoots. I'm blooming like the flower. Think about it, guys. How many times have you said something like, I'm shaking like a leaf, right? It's colder than whatever. How many times do we use metaphors throughout our life, throughout the day, all of the time, right? Because that's how our brain works. Our subconscious is responsible for 90+% of the daily functions in our life, and it looks for the easiest way to associate things. And so if you can associate it with a metaphor, your brain is automatically going to kind of picture that. It's going to say, yep, I understand what that means, right? Great little hint as far as your marketing goes, guys. The more that you can use metaphors in your copy and your content, the more people are going to, kind of connect with that. Like this rocket ship, there's a reason that there's like a rocket ship on a lot of the graphics that Blake has, just as an FYI, right? It's because it's hitting in to that subconscious mind. I am overflowing with abundance. You talk about fire and burning. One of the things I always talk about, rising from the ashes, flying like the phoenix. I'm strong, like I'm grounded like the mountains. I've got this enduring strength of a boulder. When you're writing affirmations for yourself, if you're going to do some for yourself, understanding how metaphors can work with your brain, guys, this is where, we see things. Now, some of you will see the images that I'm talking about. Some of you hear the images that I'm talking about. Some of you can feel them. All of those things, you've got to understand how you connect with the auditory signals to help you with your own affirmations. Does that make sense? How many of you guys tend to feel something like, this is kind of how I feel? How many of you guys see, and you're always looking for clarity like that? And others want to, hear it and touch it and sense it, right? We're all a little bit different in that regard. And the more that you can identify that for you, the better it'll be. Okay, so think about that. All right, James, all I can do is hopefully she gets the recording. I'm not sure what we can do there. Okay, so another method, if you're going to write some of your own affirmations, we get in that final result. So you identify a goal, or you imagine the result, right? How that feels. You have the static picture. So this is you writing out an affirmation. Okay. Questions on this method? Like, this is becoming, I am becoming this. I have become X. I will do this. I feel fantastic because of whatever that result is that you're creating. Does that make sense with everybody? Writing that out? Yes. Good. Okay. One way you can do it is using your Phoenix moment. Now, I've talked about this a lot at times. This is your, that moment that you were just lit up, you were on fire, you were engaged, you were in the zone, amazing things happened. I've done trainings on the Phoenix moment, so go back and watch those if you're not sure what I'm talking about. Some of you guys understand what I mean when I say this. Yes, your moment that was just phenomenal, that race that you won, the moment that you told the love of your life, how you felt, and they said yes. The moment that you achieved something at work, the moment you got your first sale, the moment that whatever that moment is. Sometimes sitting down and thinking about that before you state your affirmations can anchor you into a powerful moment in your subconscious mind when you can work on things. Okay, so this is, again, just a little explanation of the Phoenix moment, a time in your life when you did something, you felt incredible. I'm not going to have you do that right now, though you should. So, okay. Refine it, find it, make that work, get into the affirmations. Now, MRIs. This is why I'm so excited for Melissa to come on and talk about it. I'm going to ask her a little bit about this on Thursday. MRIs show that affirmations activate the reward centers of the brain. The amygdala, right? Is that right? So it also discovered that saying affirmations increased activity in the medial prefrontal cortex. What does that mean? Okay. It can decrease health deteriorating stress. People have successfully increased their physical activity levels using self-affirmations. We have some of these challenges. We're talking about push-ups. We're talking about running, walking, Stairmaster, marathons, whatever it is. It can help you instead of, think about it. As you're getting through exercises, instead of saying things like, man, I can't do this. This is so rough. I'm struggling. This hurts too much. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, hey, just one more step. Just one more step. You can do this. I can get through this. I just got to keep going. Hey, it'll be over soon, right? Like those different things. A lot of you guys that have pushed yourself over the last year, some of you guys that are physical trainers, right? How many of you guys have heard a personal trainer that's yelling at someone about, hey, you can't do it? Guys do this a lot. They joke about the bros in the gym. I used to have a friend that would yell at me as I was lifting heavier weights and call me names and degrade me in a way to get me upset and jacked up and excited. And I remember after a while getting up and I just looked at him. I said, that does nothing for me in any way other than making you look like a fool. So how about we change things up? How about we make it a little bit more encouraging? Okay. That same inner dialogue should work, in a positive manner. Patricia, yeah, thank yourself. Absolutely. Hey, great job. Good job. Hey, one more step. Let's keep going. Positive affirmations as you're going along. Like the fact that that'll change how you act physically is mind-boggling in the power if you guys look at it. So it can help people perceive threatening messages with less resistance. Okay. They're great as a tool for coping with everyday challenges. It shows that people are less likely to dismiss harmful health messages. You pay more attention to your body. Students boosted their academic achievements in college using affirmations. How many of you guys are still telling yourself that you're not good at technology? You're too old for this. I'm no good at this. Social media is frustrating. Guy, I hate Facebook. Oh my gosh, I wish I wasn't on Instagram. Oh, blah. All you're doing is beating yourself up. You should change that. You should use positive affirmations to help with what you're doing here. Right? Oh, I'm so sick of dieting. Oh my gosh, I can't stand the Stairmaster. Oh, I know I need to go to the gym, but man, I'm just so frustrated about blah, blah. I worry other people are going to look at me like this. Oh, I don't feel comfortable in my clothes. Stop telling yourself that nonsense. The more you do, the more struggle you give yourself. You're creating extra obstacles. Why do it? Michael's saying, likely part of the process, but I presume visualizing or accomplishing our goals is important. Absolutely. So there's different ways with affirmations, right? And visualization is so incredibly powerful. You look at elite athletes, you look at people that are speakers, right? They imagine themselves going out on stage and delivering a presentation. You look at the athlete that is imagining just as many free throws virtually as they are, in real life. It's why things like virtual reality now is almost as important. Now they're starting to utilize it in training for athletes and for others. because it helps different elements of your brain, right? The more that you see yourself doing it, when you actually accomplish it, it's not as big a deal. Because what happens with our memory and our subconscious mind, what were we talking about? You're living only one cinematic element at any given time consciously, whereas subconsciously you have as many as 10,000 different things going on all at once, and your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference in reality versus fantasy. So the more that you visualize something, the more power you give to the subconscious mind to work out how to get things done, right? Your subconscious mind is looking for the easiest way to accomplish something. So the more that we feed it a certain way of life, the easier, the better it will be in you to get to that next level, if that makes sense. Chantel, and I appreciate you sharing that. And the reality of wanting to give up on programs is normal, right? It happens a lot, right? Especially as you're learning something new. So where you guys are right now with this, and it's the same thing with affirmations, is we have to break apart and tear apart these old habits and create new ones. So like, and it's something really small. And I know he's still very much in the beginning phase of where he's going to take himself. But, you know, Bruce was asking Drake a question at the very beginning of this call. And he was talking about, hey, you know, are you active? Are you the expert? And it's something simple, but, you know, 6 months ago or whenever, I remember having conversations with Drake when we started some of the challenges. And he was talking about how frustrating it was for him to just post content on a consistent basis, right? Just that, something simple. And Drake falls into the category that a lot of you guys would like to be in, of the younger generation, right? That should be a little more familiar with social media. And you're still talking about, hey, you know, it's frustrating. Now, like he said a minute ago, he doesn't consider himself an expert, but would you consider yourself a little bit further along than you were, right? Still have some frustrations, but able to overcome them a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but you've got more ability than you had before, right? It's not like those, what do they always say, right? It's not that it becomes easier, it's that your capacity increases, right? And so right now, Chantel and others right along with you, we're dealing with the frustration of how we've lived or what we've done, and we're adding this, trying to build in this new skill, right? And we've got this pathway, and you see other people going and walking along, and you're like, man, I know it's possible, but I've got to believe it's possible for me. And so that's some, you know, one way why some of these affirmations can become important, because you've got to rewire yourself subconsciously, right? Consciously, we can tell ourselves all the time, or every once in a while, hey, there's this. But as you begin to rewrite your subconscious, that's where that belief and that continue work starts to come in, right? So keep pushing, Chantel. Don't give up. Just keep step by stepping. All right. Practicing self-affirmation has effectively lowered stress. In one study, a short affirmation exercise boosted the problem-solving abilities of chronically stressed subjects to the same level as those with low stress. Affirmations can significantly increase feelings of hopefulness, not hopelessness. Can we see how this right here, with what Chantel was just stating, right? Affirmations have been used to successfully treat people with low self-esteem, depression, other mental health conditions. But this one really, guys, the short affirmation exercise boosted the problem-solving abilities, okay? I think, and it's talking about chronically stressed, I'd say a much larger percentage of us over the last, now, going into our third year almost, with the pandemic and everything else, right? The level of chronic stress, I think almost all of us could lift our hand and say, we've experienced that, right? Over the course of the last 20 months, maybe the last 20 years. Maybe it's not just the last few months, but chronic stress has been there. Now, affirmations, it's showing, can help increase your cognitive function. Do you guys realize how much stress messes with your cognitive function? How hard it is to think when you're stressed out, right? Now, technology, if you've said for the last 10, 15 years, God, I just don't like social media. Oh, I'm never going to do that. That's not what I want to do, right? Oh, I don't need that for work, so I'm not going to learn it. So you've spent a decade or 2 or 3 telling yourself that you don't like technology, telling yourself that you get stressed out, telling yourself that it's frustrating. And now you're going to build a business with it. All of a sudden, your brain doesn't go, awesome, this is great. Right? Unicorns and lollipops and candy canes and everything else. So part of this, there is a learning curve to it. Absolutely, Chantel. There's words and there's phrases. And so some of it we give here. Sometimes you'll get them on, there's other places that, we'll dive into that here in a second. My point with all of this is we're rewriting our own programming. And when there's stress involved, and we've always placed stress on topics like this. Now, this could be technology, it could be relationship related, it could be personal health, it could be personal development, it could be finances. A lot of us have lived our lives thinking a certain way, right? And getting stressed out with any elements, for years and years. Finances for me, because of how I grew up and how my parents treated money and how we talked about money, and can't afford this, can't do that. We always buying the cheapest thing because it was the cheapest thing, and then you end up buying it 3 or 4 or 5 times even, and it's breaking down because it's cheap, and you end up spending more than you did. You're right. Like throughout my life, that was growing up. That's how we lived. Money was always a frustration. Learning how to earn money, learning how to keep money, learning to invest in investments and in myself instead of money just flying out as soon as it came in. That was a process. And that was a point of stress for me. I had to change that. And it took years. Technology is the same way. Building your business is going to be the same way. But having healthy relationships with others and with yourself, all of these things are going to take time, right? So yeah, if you've avoided using it, and part of this becomes, how am I going to look at it? If I'm, if it's social media or if it's the diet or whatever, what kind of metaphor can you create in your mind to help you understand the value of it, as opposed to the negative connections that you gave before? Guys, there's a lot more in here to help you kind of understand the power of positive affirmations and what kind of affirmations they have. Part of the challenge for this month, there's all of these different types of affirmations, affirmations for prosperity and success and relationships, health, joy, love, career, forgiveness, your business, everything else. Again, I'm giving you these slides, and you've got access to this 30-day affirmation challenge folder here, right? So there's training here that you've got access to, and I'm going to give it to you again today. You can create some of your own effective ones. I would say for a lot of you guys looking at this with the business, I challenge you guys to write a couple of your own concerning the business, but I'm going to write out 10 to 15. Yeah, exactly. For building the funnel and launching the business, right? So I'm going to write out 10 to 20 of them geared towards the business. Okay. Ways that I see, based on having worked with now at this point, thousands of you guys coming through, seeing some of the same problems every single time. I'll give you a baseline. I would say create a handful of others that you connect with and write some out. Now I'm going to give you affirmations consistently throughout this challenge. These are going to be important for you to do daily, though. Whatever, if it's finances, if it's building this out, if it's diet, nutrition, exercise, if it's relationships, there's probably going to be a handful of affirmations that you should be telling yourself every single day, no matter what, right? Those are going to remain important, but I'll give you some that deal with the business, and then you're going to add a few to it. Does that make sense? Are we good with that? Would you guys like that? I know Chantel is saying yes. So, okay, good. So I'm going to do that today. The affirmations that you add to it, guys, and this is so important. No, Greg, the deck is not going to be emailed. It's going to be inside that Skype group. So join that Skype group that's up in the link. Krista, can you post that again? It's going to be in there along with the folder with other elements inside that folder. don't write, anything negative in an affirmation. Makes sense, right? An affirmation is something positive. But an affirmation isn't, I'm going to lose X amount of weight, because losing isn't an affirmation, right? It's not, I'm going to remove my debt. That's not an affirmation. That's a negative connotation, right? It's not, I won't get frustrated working on, my funnel, because that's just as effective as me telling you. You guys remember that one of the first scenes, the Matrix 4 just came out, but you guys remember one of the first scenes in the Matrix when they, he brings him back into the Matrix and he's walking around, he's telling him all of these things. And he says, did you see this? Or were you paying too much attention to the woman in the red dress? And he goes, what do you mean? And then all of a sudden he sees the woman in the red dress, right? That's the same thing. If you guys are focused on the negative elements, that's exactly what you're going to see on a consistent basis. So I'm going to come up with some affirmations for this, right? I gave you some for the New Year's for today. I just posted those. Hopefully some of you guys already saw those. I know a couple of you did. Say those today, but I'm going to give you others for the business. If there are other topics that you feel are necessary, I'm going to give you a number of them throughout the month. We'll deal with prosperity and success. We'll deal with health. We'll look at love and relationships and all of these other things. But guys, just work on you. And really that's what we're trying to do here is rebuild from a subconscious level how you speak with yourself. And that's the key to these affirmations, right? Cool thing is I got someone coming on, a brainwave expert coming on later this week to talk about neurofeedback and how our brains react in different situations and what that can do. So make sure that you don't miss Thursday. But on that note, spend some time on yourself, guys. Find a way to always rise from the ashes, fly like the phoenixes that you are. Affirm your worth and your power and your potential and how amazing you are to yourselves all the time. I will talk with you guys tomorrow. Message me if you have any type of special affirmations that you want us to work on. And on that note, we will talk soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.